Hello and welcome to News 6 Extra. I am streaming executive producer Thomas Mates, filling in for Julie Broughton today. She has the day off. News 6 meteorologist Jonathan Kegas will be in for News 6 at 4 with your forecast. We'll be getting to the forecast in just a second, but first we've got a lot else to talk about today. We're also going to be looking at the ongoing trade war between China and the U.S. It may be cooling down slightly. President Trump announced that there might be a 115% reduction in our current tariffs on Chinese imports. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. Also, a former state lawmaker is taking a look at how we can use AI to improve traffic around Central Florida. If you've ever been stuck at a red light, you know they can take forever. He's saying that AI could help to bring up our outdated system and get things moving again. We'll have more on that coming up in a few minutes. And of course, today we are hitting the road to Clermont in Lake County. It's an area that has seen rapid growth and also is home to some really great attractions such as the Lake Ridge Winery. News 6 anchors Justin Warmoth and Ginger Gadsden will have more on those topics coming up in just a few minutes. But as I said, we need to talk about the weather. It has been a wet day across Central Florida. Here's a live look at downtown Orlando. You can see the clouds are out there. The rain has let up for the time being, but we can expect more rain coming up later today. For more on that, we're joined now by David Nazario, News 6 meteorologist David Nazario. David, how are you doing today?
Good. It's definitely been a long weekend tracking this stubborn storm system and all the rain hitting Florida. But how are you holding up, Thomas? Good to see you.
Not too bad. You know, it was funny. I was getting out of our morning editorial meeting, and as I was coming out, Eric Sandoval, one of our bosses here, was walking in, and he had to run from his car into the station. He forgot his umbrella. It looked like he just finished a marathon. So not the day to forget your umbrella.
No, absolutely not. But we are going to start to improve, and I'll walk you all through that hour by hour here momentarily. But first, I want to take you outside looking from the top down. Let's take a look at the satellite, because this is a very interesting setup that we have not only for Florida, but for a majority of us here across the Southeast, spreading up into the Appalachians and the Mid-Atlantic. If you look over Louisiana and Mississippi, that area of low pressure, an upper level low, I should say, now stacked, as it's called, down to the surface, has just been stuck. It's been sitting underneath a giant area of ridging that extends over the central and eastern United States. And that, for those of you curious, is called a Rex block type pattern, where you get a little area of low pressure stuck up underneath a ridge. And the reason it gets stuck there, you don't really have a whole lot of wind or any other large enough weather feature to knock it out of the park. Kind of like the old law of inertia: an object in motion stays in motion until an equal or greater force acts on it. Very similar principle here, and in this case, since it's stuck out there by itself, we don't have that equal or greater force to kick it out of our neck of the woods just yet. Let's take a look at the radar outside. We did have one special weather statement flare up right there. You look to the south of Kissimmee during that loop. There it is. It's going to pop up for a brief second. We had what's called a bow echo take shape on radar, where you get a sudden increase in the forward speed of a line of showers and storms. And just because that's a lot of mass quite literally moving so rapidly, that's where you get the winds to suddenly pick up 40, 50 miles an hour. But that's been about it. Thankfully, so far, we haven't seen any of the severe weather unfold, but it's still kind of early in the day. We're going to be watching exactly what happens once that low pressure slowly slips towards the east and we get some stronger winds high up in the atmosphere directly overhead to kind of stir the pot just a little bit, so to speak. Here's a look at your rain chances for today. It goes without saying, the further southwest you go, you're going to find more of the rainfall, especially as the tail of this feature begins to rock through central Florida. Then tomorrow, pretty rapid improvement. We're going to see some dry air building in along the southern half of that spin up over the Dixie Alley, the deep south area, finally push its way across the central Florida peninsula, clearing out a large majority of the heavy rainfall. But really good news in terms of the brush fire conditions and the drought conditions that had built in across our viewing area for the last, I want to say, almost month at this point. These are the rainfall totals for only the last 24 hours. You look at Orlando here, and we're sitting right at about 3 inches. Sanford, much of the same, 3.04 inches. Cocoa Beach coming in at just a little over 1.5 inches. The Villages in Leesburg sitting right around that same threshold. A few of us Kissimmee, Lakeland, take that with an enormous grain of salt. Just because the sensor didn't quite pick up on any rainfall accumulation, I can testify in Haines City, we've had plenty of rainfall. So Lakeland, Davenport, Haines City down in Polk, up into the Lake Toho, St. Cloud, Kissimmee area, we have definitely picked up some much needed rainfall. And take a look at this. This has been since the event first kicked off. 5 inches of rain in Kissimmee. And then take a look at Orlando, 7 inches of rain. Over half a foot of rainfall has been picked up by this system. So thankfully, we may not quite eliminate the drought altogether, but we are definitely putting a hefty dent in it just in time, too. And I'll show you exactly why I say that. We still have a statewide severe risk in effect, although I'm kind of losing confidence we get any severe thunderstorms out of this. If we do, considering how moist the air is at this point, thanks to all the rainfall that we've had, we may have a couple of more bouts of strong winds to get through before this all wraps up later on tonight. But thankfully, it looks like the severe risk is diminishing. I'll go ahead and take you hour by hour now. And you can see our in-house cloud and rain radar, or future radar, I should say, keeps the showers and storms around until about 9 to 10 o'clock at night. You can see that dry air and westerly wind flow builds in quickly over the state. Maybe a couple of stray showers during the warmest part of the day tomorrow, since the sun will be back and shining, and we'll still have some leftover moisture in the atmosphere to tackle with, or play around with, I should say. And so maybe up in Volusia, Flagler, Seminole County, we could get some stray showers forming up between the hours of 3 and 6, but definitely nothing as extensive as today. I'll switch over to our other high-resolution model because I'm noticing a bit of discontinuity. If you look at this model here, this one actually has us clearing out much earlier in the day, so maybe you can salvage the second half of your Monday. Some lingering storms up there near Ocala and the Villages around 8 o'clock, closer to sunset, but a large majority of us could be done with the rain by as early as 5:30, maybe 6 p.m., especially as we're in peak rush hour. That could be good news for your commute home, especially if you're stuck out there near the attractions, the I-4 area between Disney, Universal, and my neck of the woods. It's a pain in the behind getting off at Champions Gate sometimes because things will pile up and the rain is almost insult to injury. And so now we'll quickly shift gears real fast. We'll talk about down the road towards the back end of this week. Things are going to be changing. We're going to be flipping the script once again, changing gears pretty rapidly, almost like Fast and the Furious. So if you look, we have that upper low. It is slowly but surely going to evacuate the southeast corner of the U.S. And then notice we get another big old bubble of ridging building in over the western and central Gulf. That's going to expand its reach over us as we go through Thursday and especially Friday, Saturday into the upcoming weekend here. And that's going to make it feel a lot like summer, to tell you the truth. Take a look at these temperature trends here. Over the next 5 days, we're going to go from the low 80s for many of us, thanks to the clouds and rain out there. Tuesday through Thursday, we're rapidly accelerating towards the low 90s again. And then look at Saturday, pushing the record-setting temps potentially. And then you're definitely going to want to plan some water activities or stay inside as we go through this next weekend. A night and day difference. Look at the heat index. Thursday at 96. Friday, pushing, you round up from there, folks, and we are at a 100-degree heat index, and we're only getting into the middle portions of May. Summer has yet to arrive, but Climate Prediction Center is singing the same tune as some of our computer models and what we're thinking here in the Weather Center, and you can see as we go through the middle portions of May, we are going to be as above average as we could possibly anticipate. Finally, 7-day forecast, rain chances are going to be maxed out pretty much through the day today, at least until later in the afternoon, early evening. Once we get some of that dry air to build in, we get to the backside of that frontal feature, that extension of the trough from that low pressure. Tuesday and Wednesday, some lingering showers, and then take a look at that weekend. Some clouds as another feature tries to push its way through, but I don't think we're going to get a lot of rain from it. In fact, it is going to feel very, very summer-like here in Central Florida, and hopefully that won't suddenly put us back into the drought and brush fire conditions. So definitely keep checking back with us. We're going to keep you ahead of the storm, ahead of the heat as best we can.
It is feast or famine here in Central Florida right now. Yeah, either not a drop of moisture in the air, or it's a deluge as we have today. You know, it's good that we're getting it, but it'd be nice if we could keep it.
Seriously, yeah. It looks like the rainy season just doesn't quite want to do its thing just yet. May 15th per the calendar is usually when it'll start up, but it looks like Mother Nature's saying, nah, you know what? I'm going to flip that upside down for y'all, and we'll keep you guessing for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, it's got to come sooner or later, right?
Exactly.
All
Exactly.
right, David, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You have a great day.
You as well, Thomas. Thanks very much.
All right, now we're going to take a look at the city of Clermont. Today we are hitting the road to Clermont. We will be live there starting on News 6 at 4. News 6's Ginger Gadsden will be out there. It is an area that is seeing a ton of growth, and some say too much for its own good. News 6 anchor Justin Warmoth went out there to talk with the people living out in Clermont who are dealing with this boom of new population.
I kind of describe it as just like a small town, but not a small town.
Clermont has changed quite a bit since Eva Dole was a kid.
It used to be you could look up and where the Publix is on 27, that was all orange groves, and now it's just a whole bunch of stores.
Development has been exploding throughout this rapidly growing city. And like the orange groves, some say its small town charm is disappearing as well.
When you have this much growth, is it hard to keep that charm, that small town charm?
Absolutely. It's very hard. It's when you're driving past and all you see are buildings and more cars and it's bumper to bumper traffic. It's very difficult to feel like you're in a small town.
Clermont's population continues to balloon, nearly doubling in the last decade. The hazy outline of Orlando's skyline is some 30 miles away, but for Dole, it's never been closer.
You drive down 50, you got like Tesla dealerships and a Costco. Did you ever envision that?
Never. I know everybody wanted a Costco. I know everyone wants Trader Joe's and all the other stores that Orlando has, but did not think we would get it as quick as we did, for sure.
Is Clermont becoming Orlando, in a sense?
I think so.
And the growth won't be slowing down either. Where I'm standing right now is called Wellness Way. It's about a 20,000 acre property right down US 27, just south of downtown Clermont, about 8 to 9 miles. Ultimately, 15,000 homes will be built. You can see some already taking shape. So much of this portion of the county's future growth will be centered around this development. What have you made of the changes that this pocket of Lake County has experienced?
I think the growth, it's brought some good things, but definitely there's a lot of concern right now.
This stretch of South Lake County falls under Commissioner Sean Parks' jurisdiction.
I tell people, look, I live here too. Central Florida native. I'm shocked at what I see.
He's pushing for better growth management, a step he believes could ease the burden on the community.
I do think that obviously lack of planning and mistakes have been made in the past. We're trying to protect our water resources, so we're changing some of our development codes to protect that as well. And I think when people see that, they'll start, I think there'll be a little more hope.
You try not to look at it as always a bad thing, but the more it happens and the longer it takes you to get from point A to point B, when it used to be like a 10-minute drive, now it's a 25-minute drive, it starts to take a toll on you.
In Clermont, Justin Warmoth, News 6.
Now, that story's been getting a lot of conversation online over on our Facebook page and on clickorlando.com. You can go to clickorlando.com to find Justin's story and join in on that conversation. Now, of course, when we go to one of these communities here in Central Florida, we like to highlight maybe some of the challenges they are facing, but also the good, the things that is unique to the area and that you can't find anywhere else here in Central Florida. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden went out to Lake Ridge Winery to show us everything that special place has to offer for the people in Lake County.
Nestled among the rolling hills of Clermont, Lake Ridge Winery and Vineyards has been a part of the community since its doors opened in 1989. This winery has grown from humble beginnings to producing more than 2 million bottles of award-winning wine each year. And just like the grapes that produce good wine, growing a successful business like this takes time.
So my name's Christian Sloop. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Lake Ridge Winery and Vineyards. I'm actually the third generation family here at Lake Ridge, so my granddad actually founded Lake Ridge about 36 years ago.
Christian's grandfather is Gary Cox. That's him on a harvester in the mid-'80s. Before Lake Ridge was even founded, Gary's dad, Christian's great-grandfather, Boynton Cox, loved experimenting with winemaking. As a boy, he has fond memories of visiting his grandfather. That's Christian stomping grapes with his bare feet. Now, he walks the vineyards feeling generations of growth and history under his feet here in Lake County.
Right now, we actually only have 4 people taking care of this entire vineyard.
What? Lake Ridge spans an impressive 127 acres. It is the largest vineyard in the state. They produce some 330 gallons of wine each year.
Oh my gosh,
So
are
those-
these them?
Correct.
I'm familiar with the muscadine
Yep.
grape, and I can't believe this is how tiny they start.
Yep.
Because they get bulbous.
Oh yeah, they get pretty massive.
Hard to believe, but these tiny buds on the vine will ripen into the grapes that will produce all that divine wine.
I honestly try and come out here at least once a day.
As we walk through the vineyard, Christian tells me he looks for clusters of grapes on each shoot to get an idea of what kind of harvest is ahead.
And we're counting 2 on there. That's usually the average. If we start seeing any 1s, I'd start to get concerned. Any that have 3 on it, that's going to be fantastic.
We're shooting this in April, and these will be ready for harvesting by August. While this is a beautiful sight, it's not easy growing grapes in fickle Florida soil. Too much rain, and it can actually water down the taste and sweetness of the grapes.
We set it up a little bit different on the weekends.
Lake Ridge Winery uses modern techniques in winemaking, including temperature-controlled fermentation in these giant stainless steel tanks.
These are about 5,000 gallons.
They are built to preserve the natural flavors of the grapes.
It's a lot of wine.
Yeah, it is.
Lake Ridge produces a variety of wines catering to diverse palates. Their Southern Red and Southern White wines keep customers coming back for more.
Pinot Grigio is described as semi-dry on your wine list.
Visitors at Lake Ridge enjoy tastings and tours led by employees who are more like family.
I'm Doug Maitland. I've been here for 19 years. When you come into the facility, I will show you the wines, give you a tour, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of the wines that we produce.
And customers seem to love it.
Either non-wine drinkers or people that said they only drink dry wine and they fall in love with them and walk out with cases. I mean, it's the coolest thing ever to see.
That's a pretty cool spot. As we said, we are going to be live out in Clermont starting today at 4 o'clock. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden will be out there. And of course, we'll be out there all week long telling the stories of that community and the stories that you wanted us to tell, the stories that you reached out to us and said, hey, this is a problem, or hey, this is a really cool spot here in Clermont. We want to show it off. All that's coming up all week long, starting on News 6 at 4. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll be taking a look at the ongoing trade war between China and the U.S. and also how AI could help get results for your commute. All that is coming up again in just about 2 minutes.
President Trump is touting a
Welcome back to News 6 Extra. The time now is 12:49, almost 12:50 on your Monday. Today, President Donald Trump is touting what could be a de-escalation in the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China. Both sides are agreeing to lessen their tariffs on imported goods by 115%. That brings the U.S. tariffs down to 30% on imported goods, 10% of imported goods going into China. This comes as the two sides are in the middle of negotiations, which started over the weekend in Switzerland. Of course, this de-escalation is only a 90-day pause at the moment. For more on this story, CBS's Natalie Brand shows us the negotiations happening with the Trump administration.
President Trump is touting a temporary trade deal with China, even as the toughest part of negotiations are still ahead.
The talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China.
Under the agreement, the U.S. will lower its 145% tariff on Chinese goods to 30%. The retaliatory tariff China imposed on the U.S. will come down to 10% for 90 days while talks continue.
The biggest thing that we're discussing is the opening up China, and they've agreed to do that. But it's going to take a while to paper it. You know, that's not the easiest thing to paper.
Ongoing negotiations are expected to address the U.S.'s nearly $300 billion trade deficit with China, unfair trade practices, and fentanyl.
As long as there is good faith effort, engagement, and constructive dialogue, then we will keep moving forward.
The president also announced this morning a new executive order aimed at reducing the price of prescription drugs by trying to match U.S. prices to what other countries pay.
Basically, what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to equalize.
Experts say the U.S. currently pays roughly 3 times as much as other developed countries.
With this new policy, what we call the most favored nation policy, would mean that the United States would pay no more than the lowest price paid by a high-income country.
The president tried to implement the plan in his first term, but was blocked by the courts. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
We all know that traffic around Central Florida can be tough, and the traffic lights do not make it any better. I'm sure there is one traffic light on your morning commute that you just dread getting stuck at the red there because it can take forever. Well, a former state lawmaker is saying that there is a better way, and AI could be the key to it. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez shows us how he wants to use that new technology to improve your daily commute.
We've all been stuck at a red light waiting for it to change, even though no other cars are coming. It can be really frustrating. But there's a new push to look to AI to make these dumb lights smart.
Pretty mad. Yeah, it happens a lot. I live in East Orlando, so on Colonial, I'm there all the time, and it takes 2 or 3 cycles to get through a red light.
Drivers are sick of it, and maybe AI can fix it. It's already a reality in parts of Florida.
In some cities that have done this, they've seen a 25% reduction at intersections or at certain intersections using this technology of wait times.
Former state senator Jeff Brandes is with the Florida Policy Project. He points to a recent study entitled Best Practices, Signalized Intersection Investments. It shows our traffic lights aren't just out of sync, they're also outdated.
Traffic light signals have really not changed since the 40s and 50s in a significant way.
The study looked at over 16,000 intersections in Florida, just like this one, and found that the average traffic delay is 20.4 seconds. Nationwide, it's 18.1.
The simple truth is, my smartphone is radically more advanced than most of the traffic signals that we see.
The changes wouldn't mean installing new lights, but adding sensors and cameras to the ones that we already have to adjust the lights in real time. Making these changes could reduce traffic without the need to add more lanes. It could also make our roads safer for drivers and pedestrians. Data from 2019 to 2023 found 26% of crashes in Florida are related to intersections.
Some areas are already leaning into this. Here in Central Florida, Metro Plan Orlando is currently accepting proposals from consultants to work on some efforts to retime some of the lights here in the city. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
That'll do it for us here on Take 6 today, now at 12:53 on your Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back starting on News 6 at 4. News 6 meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is in for Julie Broughton. He'll have your forecast, and of course, we'll have all the day's headlines from across our area. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a pleasant day.